welcome back. We're just going to be talking intermittent fasting and where it has application for people looking for a balance of physique development and longevity. I'm not going to pretend I can remember it all. I've written it all down. I've had a long day. I've got it on my laptop here, but we'll just be talking through it. Okay, so as physique athletes or people looking to enhance their physique, we normally get a cycle of bulking and cutting. So we're going to focus specifically just on bulking at the moment for this little section. Basically, bulking and constant eating causes an enzyme in the body called mTOR to be consistently activated, basically causing cells to age. So when cells age, they become apoptotic, which is programmed cell death, or necrotic, which is non-programmed, so it's via inflammation or hypoxia, so a lack of oxygen to the cell. So the inflammation can and will come from those factors of oxidative stress. So what's oxidative stress? It's basically any stress in your life, whether it's mental, physical, so that'd be just your thoughts, physical in terms of exercise-induced pain, anything like that, environmental, which could be from your xenoestrogens, which could be from like poor air quality, etc. The hypoxia, which will come from exercise when not enough oxygen can fuel the muscle, which can be seen in high intensity exercise and resistance training. Also, the hypoxia can come from non-proper breathing. If someone doesn't breathe specifically through their nose, for the majority of the time, our body doesn't tend to get enough oxygen, especially during sleep. Basically, if you're overweight and you're not nasal breathing, it stops you from getting into a deeper sleep and can cause sleep apnea, which can cause inflammation throughout the body, which obviously, linking back, is what causes the necrosis of cells. So these necrotic cells specifically can cause damage to surrounding cells, and whilst undergoing constant overfeeding during the bulking phase, aren't presented with an opportunity to die off. These necrotic cells can then themselves cause more inflammation, cell death, and protein misfolding. So protein misfolding is basically something that plays a hand in neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. So we don't like that. So to mitigate these effects from bulking and just a general overfeeding lifestyle, we can use intermittent fasting. Why is that? Intermittent fasting causes autophagy, which is effectively a clear out of the apoptotic and necrotic cells, thus lowering systemic inflammation by lowering reactive oxygen species in cells, and just general inflammation in cells. The links to this have been shown to be an effective, so intermittent fasting or a fast mimicking diet has been shown to be an effective dietary strategy in cancer patients, as obviously we want to kill off them rapidly expanding cells and any cells that are causing excess inflammation. Similarly, with intermittent fasting, it promotes protein folding, which will aid in keeping that cognitive function and Alzheimer's at bay. Similarly, it has efficacy in repairing gut damage, which can obviously be caused through excessive stress, inflammation, and constant overfeeding. Obviously, with athletes, they can be constantly bloated, eating inflammatory foods in a bulking phase, and you just generally can end up eating too much food, where you end up with low stomach acid because you literally are your body's limit to produce stomach acid, which can cause low stomach acid symptoms, and further downstream effects towards your hormones and digestive issues such as constipation or diarrhea. So it's a good way of mitigating that. Finally, it promotes insulin sensitivity, which aids the body in biasing more of the nutrients to muscle over fat, which is what everyone wants. We want to be more insulin sensitive, and we do not want insulin resistance, as that causes a lot of disease and inflammation long term. So everything that intermittent fasting is doing is basically promoting longevity, promoting health, insulin sensitivity, etc. Therefore, it can be used as an effective tool to extend one's lifespan and a gaining phase, and a tool in the toolbox for gut repair and restoration of insulin sensitivity, basically whatever we've just done. However, it doesn't mean you should or have to intermittent fast on a daily basis. And as you know, a lot of people who push intermittent fasting push it fucking hard, and they want you to fast every day of the week, 365, 24/7, you know, for the rest of your fucking life. It's just not realistic. You know, especially if you want to optimize your physique development and have some sort of longevity built in, then you do ideally want a balance of the two. So from my rationale and thinking, if you want to have that balance and optimize your gaining phase as much as possible whilst keeping the inflammation down, basically you want to do intermittent fasting once a week. The reason for doing it, saying it this way, is because if you're looking to optimize your gaining phase, you want a lot of chances of protein synthesis, which don't come from intermittent fasting, basically due to the mechanism of it's a time restricted eating. And intermittent fasting can obviously range between how many hours? 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 12 hours to 12 hours a day of restricted eating. But for optimal protein synthesis, well, we want we want 4 to 5 bouts of protein synthesis a day, and if we want optimal spacing between meals to allow for digestion, etc., you're looking at probably about a meal every 3 to 4 hours away from each other. Now, you say on average are awake for 16 hours a day, 3 to 4 hours spaced apart. That's 4 to 5 meals a day for optimal protein synthesis. However, you don't want a meal too close to bedtime, so you want it 2 to 3 hours away from bedtime to keep your circadian rhythm aligned and not to interfere with anabolism or muscle building by interacting with your sleep quality, as we have a less gastric acid secretion towards the end of as soon as we get to sleep. Basically within half an hour our gastric acid drops by 50%, and if you've got a large amount of food in your stomach, your sleep quality is kind of diminish. You're not going to get as deep a sleep, you're not going to be repairing and recovering as much as you should, etc. So in that case, we want to hit that optimal protein synthesis 3 to 4 hours, or a feeding every 3 to 4 hours of at least, well, if you want to optimize it, 40 grams of protein per feeding, and then we have the 1 day of intermittent fasting a week approximately to sort of allow for a reduction in inflammation, an increase in longevity, and a reset of insulin sensitivity. It's probably more important to do so later on down as you get to a higher body fat, as we want to, and as food goes up, we want to probably do more intermittent fasting or do more things to keep gut health intact and insulin sensitivity intact. At the start of the gaining phase, when you're particularly lean, it's probably not as important, but you know, it's always a consideration. Similarly, if you're in a deficit and you're looking to lose muscle, Similarly, if you're looking to lose fat and retain muscle, which is the case or should be the case in 99% of cases, it's not optimal in a calorie deficit to be intermittent fasting. as these regular bouts of protein synthesis, which we talked about, is what we want as a natural athlete to retain the muscle that you've already built. Yeah. And based on the mechanism, like I said, of intermittent fasting, we can't hit these optimal bouts of protein synthesis. So it means for the vast majority of the time, you will be catabolic and breaking down muscle. Obviously, as an enhanced athlete, it's different if you're on something like a clenbuterol or a tren, which are, you know, they attenuate muscle protein breakdown. You might be a bit more safe, but you know, as a natural athlete, then it's not optimal. So yeah, coming back to it, therefore, with focus on a balance with physique development and longevity, I would typically advise practicing intermittent fasting once a week in a gaining phase, especially important in the latter stages of gaining phase, to get the benefit of it whilst not taking too much of away from overall physique development. The issues that were raised previously in excess inflammation can be tackled through a diet rich in antioxidants, supplementation of glutathione. A lot of people take N-acetylcysteine or NAC, but the bioavailability or absorption rate from your body is pretty fucking poor. Similarly, it's not great with eating it or, you know, take it as a supplement. Injectable glutathione is the most bioavailable and, you know, amazing antioxidant in the body. Similarly, a lifestyle spent with lots of time spent utilising your parasympathetic nervous system, so humming, chilling, singing, all that shit, just being as chill as fuck as possible outside of training, promotes recovery, reduces that oxidative stress on your body, and keeps your cells more healthy. As well as a removal of xeno and phytoestrogens, which obviously block your estrogen, your natural estrogen production. Can also lower testosterone, so just want to remove them. So you can find them in your water, plastics, BPAs, etc. Make little switches, and, you know, filter your water. Use glass Tupperware instead of plastic. And then for protein misfolding, which was in relation to neurodegenerative diseases, a dose of TUDCA at 50, so a TUDCA, is that how you spell it? TUDCA? Yeah, at 50 milligrams per day should suffice to prevent and mitigate that. So that was sort of a comprehensive guide, with my opinion, balanced as possible with application towards physique development. If I've missed anything out or you have any of your own opinions, feel free to message me, let me know, or drop a comment. Like and share, or don't. But yeah, I hope that helps in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay then, intermittent fasting. Do it or don't, it's your life. Live it how you wanna.